All right, William. How does it feel? You're a TI winner now.
It's pretty wild. It's still weird to think about, I guess, because I don't know. It's like a goal you chase for such a fucking long time that I feel like it just messes with your brain once you get it, you know?
How many
It's odd.
years have you been coaching at this point in time, including the time where you started on the old liquid?
7. 7
7
years
years.
total.
And you have been in a lot of finals in that period of time, even with the old liquid. But you guys didn't win that many tournaments on that old liquid, right? I remember you guys were in one or two major finals, but you guys never won a major. You guys won like
We
the
got 2 major
ESL
finals.
one.
Yeah, we got 2 major finals.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you want to know my wins as a coach that I like consider wins,
Mm-hmm.
Epicenter. Won the first Epicenter as a coach.
That's a
Everyone
big
always
one.
forgets that.
Yeah,
I won ESL Genting with DC.
I remember that. Yeah.
Um, the online Europe thing. That might be it, honestly. A lot of second
A
places.
lot of second places.
A lot of second places. I must have like the most top 4 finishes at majors. Like honestly, I might have that record. Somebody can go fact check that, but it's got to be at least like top 3. It's
Man,
got to be insane.
man was the most prolific loser, the most second
Yes.
places in the world. But you finally won TI. I remember a long time ago that you told me that, and I've heard this from SVG as well. I don't think Kyle ever expressed this sentiment, though I do think Kyle was kind of like over his pro playing career. That like it does suck in a way being talent, and watching other people do what you like set out to do, right? Like at some point in time, like you said you wanted to be like you wanted to have been a pro player on that stage. You never got your opportunity as a player, but you got your opportunity as a coach. Now that you've won TI, is there some sort of closure there that you've gotten?
I mean, it feels nice in some ways. I don't know, because it's like I felt really emotional at the time. Obviously, I cried like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, in the backstage, I remember like maybe 5 minutes before I knew it was gonna happen. Because I'm panicky, right? And I'm asking the staff if I'm gonna win, and they're like, yes, yes, you're gonna win. Like KP, Jabs, and Chloe, and well, I said, are we gonna win? Sorry. And then I remember just losing my brain, and then I started crying before I went on stage, and then when it happened, I was just bawling, and then I had a second to compose myself, and then yeah, it was wild. I just it feels weird because I've been chasing it as a goal for such a long time. I mean, everybody has, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
but it felt so weird being like vindicated almost. Yeah. Part of the reason I wanted to do this podcast was so I could talk some shit. It was too wholesome up there.
You were that was a very wholesome speech that you gave. The whole it takes a village. That was
Yes.
it was a very nice sentiment. But I do remember that we have talked about, I think, on this podcast where you said, if I win, I'm gonna talk some trash to some people. I think you even said on like one of the last episodes that there was a pub player that you were gonna fucking trash talk if you won a tournament, like Riad or something like that.
Yeah, there's some stuff that's going on in my brain. I mean, in the moment I was thinking like if we won, because I had a little bit of time to prepare, like what I would do and
Hmm.
what I would say, and then emotion kind of took over, and then I didn't really have. Obviously, it wasn't a very well prepared speech because my brain was kind of all over the place. Um, but yeah, now that I have the platform, I saw uh I decided that the last 2 years this would be my Jordan years, where I would just save comments and I would be motivated by spite.
Mm.
Um I guess the first thing I kind of want to address is that I changed absolutely nothing about my coaching style, so suck my nuts. People trying to
What
say that
you
like
didn't all of a sudden come in and be like, you guys need to fucking win this tournament or else I'm gonna fucking leave you. You're all losers. You didn't go with the harsh mantra of like you have to win. That's the only thing that matters. That
no, and I
Reddit
don't
was
know where that
pushing on you.
there's like two things that I guess I'm slightly confused at. The first is that the idea, and this is like probably the comment I save the most. Everyone's like, "Yeah, Liquid's gonna lose another tournament, and this fucking loser ass coach who fucking like doesn't do anything is gonna like tell them it's okay, and he's gonna tweet about how happy he is that he lost." I was like, when did I do that? I ask people all the time when I said I was happy to lose, and that like I there's a very big difference between me saying that I'll be happy for my friends if they win and me being happy that I lost.
Mm,
And I feel like that nuance was completely lost on people. You know that every time, because I'm really good friends with Crit and Quinn, every time like we beat them or we go further, they tell me the same thing. They said, "Oh well, if it wasn't us, I hope it was you." And
mm,
there's no way you're gonna accuse Falcons of having a loser mentality, and that's why they can't win. When Crit says like, "Oh, like I was rooting for you at TI. As soon as I lost, like, I'd be happy for either of you guys." Which is
yeah,
what I was trying to say the entire time. Is that if one of my friends wins, it's not the end of the world. Like life does move on. Even if I win this tournament, TI, life will move on. If I lose the next tournament, I'm a piece of shit anyways, and like our nothing we did mattered in the past year.
it's
So
true.
that's why I don't want to put too much on a loss as well. Like winning TI is great. Trust me. Like I'm super happy for my own personal vindication and validation. I feel good, but at the same time, like life goes on, and I'll hold on to it as like a core memory for what it represented for me and all that. But like as a competitor, it won't matter. It really won't matter. As soon as PGL happens and another team wins because we're not participating in that tournament, they're the shit, and
Yeah.
that's fine. Like I accept that completely.
Or,
That is
or
like,
more
and that is
accurately, as soon as that, what is the next tournament you play in?
it's Bet Boom Dacha.
Okay, as soon as you play in Bet Boom Dacha and you do not get first, if that happens,
Yes.
then you will be garbage, and it'll just be
Yeah, and
like
that's
33 carried the team. Yeah,
Yeah, and it's like you can't win, and that's what I try to tell my team sometimes is like there's always going to be a narrative if people dislike you, and it's impossible to fight against.
Mhm.
And that's all I was trying to say when I told my team the same thing before we played too. I said I love them no matter what. You're probably going to watch our vlog at some point. They're going to meme me about saying that, and they're okay with it. Like I'm not a negative person that's just going to be like putting extra pressure on my players. Like, you think my team and I don't realize that we had some issues with finals and stuff like that? Of course we did. But like, what do you want me to do? Like, put more pressure on it? Of course I'm going to tell them it's okay. There's a big difference between me saying like I still love you at the end of the result versus me saying like I'm happy that we lost or that I'm super okay that we lost. I mean, I'm sure you've interacted with me. I'm devastated every time we fucking lose.
Yeah.
Like I remember the first bet boom we played and we got second. I just skipped the after party and I just cried in my hotel room. I just
Hmm.
watched American Dad ordered room service and I just cried. And it's like, of course I fucking care about this game. I don't need this job anymore. I've done it for such a long time, but like I only do it because I enjoy doing it. And I thought that my way of doing it was healthy and productive. I mean, we might have like the longest standing core trio of all time at this point, right? I think we've like blown past the previous record. You
Yes, you
think
have.
that's done because I create some like toxic atmosphere? Nobody really quits on my team. Like everybody just kind of retires, which is kind of annoying. We can address the 33 thing later, but
Yeah.
yeah. So it's like I want to create a positive environment where people are happy to work there and like happy to show up to work, and I don't want to just like win an event and then just like everybody just pieces and like quits, as soon as we win.
Yeah,
And that's the
or
problem with
people
when you put
people
this
get
one thing.
burnout and want to stop playing because they can't handle the atmosphere, stuff
Yeah,
like that.
I want to when people are done on this team, I want them to genuinely walk away thinking to themselves like this was a good time. I didn't regret being on Team Liquid once. And I would have been okay with that like whether or not I won or lost TI. So like winning TI is obviously great and it shuts some people up, but at the same time like that's the main thing that it does. But
Mm.
everything else is like the same for me. I'll still tell my team the exact same thing. I'll still give the same speeches. I'll change absolutely nothing. And I think the other thing is like when I talk some shit before interviews and they're like, he's changed his attitude. Like, no, I've only changed how I address like public interviews, and I thought it was because it was funny. I think it's equally funny to go do one direction or another, and it's because Neil really wanted me to like, he really pushed me to talk some shit.
It, it
So
it
I talked
was
some shit.
it was a great line.
The suit one?
The suit one. Yeah, 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 yeah. You dress up when you're gonna bury somebody. That's a nice. Did you have that beforehand, or did you come up with it on the spot?
I think in the middle of the draft ending, I thought about it. It like entered my brain, and then I was actually maybe if you just watch my eyes carefully, you'll see me like trying to draft, and then every time I suggest a hero, I'm like, how am I gonna like formulate this line so it sounds like punchy and good? And then I think yeah, in the middle of the draft of that game, I thought about it, and then I told Neil, he was like, what do you want to do? Because the original idea was that I was gonna shit talk Denmark,
Yeah,
and
sure. Because
then
because there are two Danes on Gaming
yeah,
Gladiators. Yeah.
Yeah, so then that was gonna be the angle, and I kind of wanted to be the heel, but then I asked Liquid if I could do it, and they said preferably not. You know, I think we're the good guys here, and people want us to win, and it would be good to just alienate half the fans. I was like, all right, that's fair. So then I just decided to shit talk game indirectly, but most of the stuff is off the cuff. Like when Neil asked me how I feel about each player individually and shit, like
Yeah,
it's just
yeah,
off the cuff. The suit line though was like 10 minutes before I did it.
yeah. All right. I mean, I guess we'll just keep going on this narrative. So the TI win, it is some validation, shut some people up.
Yes.
But competition wise, do you feel like anything has gone down, or are you just as hungry for this next year? Do you want to be the 2-time? You know?
I think I messaged Mickey the day after because Mickey and I are going to be drafting now,
Yeah.
and I told him I kind of regretted turning down PGL, and he's like, same, and he was just like, I want to play like right now, and I was like, me too. Um, I'd
Mm,
stay. I was happy with the win for like 12 hours, 12 to 24 hours, and then like I was drunk, so then when I woke up, I was kind of like, okay, my days like I've won TI, nothing has changed now, you know, like everybody. I'd say like the people that were mean to me were nicer to me, but like all my friends still loved me the same, right? It's not like your affection for me grew anymore for me winning TI, right?
no.
Like there's no way that you feel differently about me as a friend because I won TI, and that's what I was trying to
No.
get across to the general public is that I don't want my players to feel like winning or losing is the determining factor of how I feel about them. It
Mm,
never should be. And they should never feel that way. And if they do feel that way, then I've done a really fucked up job of like poisoning their brains for the future. Because you
mm,
know, I am not a religious person. I think we're gonna die in like 60 years, and so I want them to just have good memories from this experience and not walk away from it like traumatized. Because I'm probably the person they interact with outside of their families the most, right?
sure.
And so, and I'm the guiding presence. And if from the top, you know, because leadership reflects how your team looks and stuff like that. If I'm toxic and negative and I put this into their brains, um, it's going to be really unhealthy for their futures. And you don't know how people hold on to trauma and shit like that. So it's way nicer if I can still go through it with the same mentality that if we won, I would have been happy. If we lost, I still would have loved you. Getting second wouldn't have been the worst result in the world, realistically speaking. That's also what Tofu said. He was like, you know, it's not the worst thing, and you wouldn't accuse them of being fucking losers. You know, like I talked to him after the after party. I was like, how do you feel? He's like, sad, but you know, like second is it's not the worst. And if he said that some shit, you know, everyone lambasted him as a fucking loser. But like, people are realistic. Like this sport is it's fucking tough and winning isn't easy. So
Yeah. Uh, you guys, you said that you knew that you had a problem when it came to finals. Now that you have gotten hopefully over that problem, or at least you have proved that you can overcome it in certain situations, uh, can we talk about what that problem was exactly?
I don't actually think we had a problem. I think we were just always kind of the worst team going into the finals, if I'm honest. I
Mm,
think that the only time that I felt there was two times where I felt like we could have won, and then the other times I felt like we had no chance. If I'm real about it, not
okay.
that like I'm ever gonna admit that, or people are gonna be like, "Oh, see, he had a loser attitude," but like you kind of know sometimes when you're outgunned, especially draft wise, when they kind of like work you into a hole and you don't really know how to get out of it. Like I felt like at Berlin, we even though we it was 3-1 and it was like kind of competitive, I felt really outgunned. I really just didn't
Mm,
know what to do at some point. This is when people are kind of confused as to like why do you let the same hero through, or like why do you? It's because you know you've gone through a few permutations, you work it out as a group, you try and like understand what went wrong, but like ultimately speaking, you just don't have enough heroes. You're like one band short, or they have one too many good heroes, you know, like one of the two things happens. And I felt like at Berlin we didn't have a chance. At Lima, obviously, you know, I love jabs, but realistically we had no shot without Boxy. I think if we had Boxy, dead ass, and obviously I have no way to prove this, but I think we would have fucking whomped Gladiators. um, but we didn't have Boxy, so it's like it
yeah.
is what it is. Then there's Dream League, which we lost 3-2 to them. That one was just unfortunate. Holy Locket incident, all that jazz. It is what it is. Um, this Riad finals, I felt like Gladiators was unbelievable. I think they were any. Did anybody else watch the tournament? Like they crushed everybody. You know, it's like they were
Yeah.
gonna crush anybody who came to the finals. Their ideas were way too good, and our ideas, we had like one good idea, and I think game three we probably would have won if we weren't mentally in the hole being down 2-0. But like, it is what it is. I thought like their first two drafts were just better, and we didn't adjust very well, and they adjusted really well. Whereas I felt like for this tournament, we were just hands down. Our ideas were just way too good. Our team was just way too good, and I think that has more to do with like our prep and maybe the meta hitting us at a really fortunate time. But that's how it works for all teams. When people are like, "Yeah, they were really, they won because of the meta." I'm like, "Did you watch Falcons all year?" Like, of course, that's how Dota works. You know, like the meta is good for you, and you're a good team. Like you see, Spirit, they weren't suddenly bad players. It's just the meta was unfortunate for them. It's just if you like a team, you're gonna complain or be happy about the meta depending on how you feel about a team, right? It's like,
Do you feel like Dota has always been that way?
yeah, for sure. I think that if your heroes are good, objectively, if your best heroes are good, then you're going to be the better team. That's just kind of how it works. So when Chen is really good, Gladiators is going to be a really good team. You know, when like Chen Underlord is good, Gladiators is going to be a really good team. When Timbersaw and um, Doom and shit like that, and like Razor are good, then Falcons is going to be a good team. When the playmaking Blink Stunners and a little bit more of a scaling type of carry game is better, then Spirit will be a better team. Of
Hmm.
course, you can make it up to like a certain degree, but Dota's gotten so good nowadays that the meta will just determine kind of how far you go to a certain extent because drafting has become at the top level, it's become so like streamlined. And I don't think people really realize that. Back then, there was no real drafting concepts like I'm gonna say this like arbitrarily, so nobody like throw me under like bridge or anything. Like pre TI6, I would say that we weren't as strict as we are now about drafting concepts, and I can say that because I was a coach for such a long time. Um, but yeah, now I feel like things have been like so measured that a lot of the times, Valve just blesses you and you have smart enough players to like utilize what they've done for you. Like you're gonna win.
So in that regard, you feel like skill wise, like there are several teams that are on even footing. It's just like specialization at that point in time.
Yeah, for sure. And whoever figures it out the fastest, right? I mean, that's one of the best things about Neta is that um, he's just really smart at figuring out things as fast as possible. And that's so useful in a team, right? I think that's what made the Tundra team so good. Everyone always complains about the Wraith Pack meta, and like I can too because I was against it. But at the same time, you gotta respect that he figured it out the fastest.
Yeah.
If it was Collapse and Spirit and a team that like was universally like that did that, or like let's say hypothetically Nigma somehow made it to that TI and they won up using Wraith Pack, nobody would be complaining about Wraith Pack. They'd be praising the genius of those players. It's just kind of how
Mm.
you feel about it. I will say, like, yeah, I think they have a snooze ass style, and I can't wait to Bob Netta. But, um, at the same time, like, you gotta appreciate that they were geniuses, and he figured out things fastest, and so he deserved to win. That's how it works.
Sure. Okay, so I think this is probably a good point where we can kind of go back to the start of this journey. So we haven't talked since before Riad. So we had both
Sure.
Riad and TI. So just real quickly, how did Riad go for you guys? That was another tournament that you guys, when you say that, like you felt like you weren't the better team going into these
Yeah.
finals, is that because a lot of these tournaments you feel like you're just barely making it to the finals in the first place? Like, do you feel like you're just like limping to the finish line and then by the time you get there, you're just out?
Yeah, I mean, it's really tough because it's such a mental like slog to try and like figure out, um, what's going on in the first place, and it's such a weird thing because I mean, we can start it from the beginning. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
first we get to the tournament. Boot camp goes well. Boot camp really goes really well. We are absolutely like fucking slamming GG. Like, I'm talking like we're just slamming them. We play against LGD, or not LGD, XG, like 4 scrims in a row, and we beat them in like combined game time of an hour. Like one game was like a 13-minute game or something like stupid. I was like, okay, cool. Our team's really cooking.
Yeah,
So then
I heard, I don't know if it was from you or from Quinn or from Aiden, but I heard that that like maybe you guys taught gaming gladiators too much at
yeah,
Riyadh
I'll get to that at the
from the
TI.
scrims. Okay, okay,
That's a TI. That's a TI conversation that'll
okay.
further happen. So then at some point I was like, okay, we're fucking cooking. Groups happen. They go okay. Um, Unexpectedly we lose to XG 1-1, which for us was unexpected. We get 2-0'd by Entity. That's completely whatever. I have a separate comment about that at some point. Then Quest 1-1. Like we're kind of like, oh god, we're sort of dog shit. Cause no offense, but we didn't have a lot of respect for a lot of teams. So we're like, okay, kind of bad. And I remember like our final series was against Entity, and they were kind of just like, we did not take that game seriously because it was a seeding match, right? It's like who cares who you play? If you're good, you just play everybody anyways. That's always
Sure.
how I felt. Once we became a good team, that's always how I felt, and that's how like Zai and Matu taught me how to feel. That it does not fucking matter who you play, and you're a fucking pussy and you're bad at Dota if you care about who you play.
Okay.
Um, so I don't care about groups or how we end up in the seeds as long as we're upper bracket. And in the 2.5 year history of our team at this point, we've never started a tournament in the lower bracket after groups. So I have some arrogance there. Anyways, we play against Entity, and like we want to start the fucking game, and they're like, it's too cold. And to be fair to them, in this one respect, it was freezing in there. It
It
was really
was really
unplayable.
fucking cold. Yeah.
But we were just kind of like, let's just get this fucking game on with. You know, like who cares? We're just playing a seeding match. And their coach and them were like, don't say that. It does matter. I was like, it doesn't matter because no matter what, Tundra's first seed. So like, who cares who you play and like who cares who you choose? Like, it doesn't matter. Spirit, Falcons, Gladiators, OG, it's all the same shit. And he's like, no, it does matter. Like every game matters. I was like, all right, cringe lord. Like, and I like Gastini, but I was kind of just like, calm down, man. Every match doesn't matter. You know, like don't save your energy. You know, this
Okay.
is like we're still, it's just fucking groups, dude. And maybe if I had said that before I won TI, everyone would have been like, loser ass attitude. But I did win TI, so it don't matter. So then I was just like, okay, man. So then we get bopped 0-2. No one really gives a shit about the game. When I say like nobody gives a shit about the game, it's like just effort isn't given 100%. Obviously, we want to win, but you know when you have that like extra push to want to do it, it's not really there.
Sure. And you also
So
aren't, I assume, breaking down the game afterwards with, like,
yeah, nobody
guys, like,
cares.
our ideas are wrong. Like, what's,
No,
you
we're
know.
just like fuck it. Like just move on.
Okay.
Move on as fast as you can. Nobody cares in the least. So then we hit playoff bracket. I see that we play Spirit first. Feeling really confident. Neta's a beast at this point. Team's really kind of clicking, and we just roll them. You know, it's not even competitive. Like neither of the
No.
games are competitive. I felt like their
No.
ideas were kind of slow. Um, they didn't understand this tiny hero very well, which was really bad. Um, and they just didn't really understand like how drafts were kind of supposed to go. And they picked like two slow lineups, quote unquote. Just get bopped.
Yeah,
And
this
then
was
I see
something that
Tundra.
will come up later in the finals, but I remember you guys, it felt like you guys had developed a tech against Sand King, right? Which was
Yes.
this tiny mid. It was just destroyed
Yeah.
Laurel.
Yeah. So you know that crushes all good. Tundra ends up 2-0ing OG, not too surprising. Entity gets 2-0'd by OG. Kind of laugh because you know the thing I had with the Steenie.
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't actually have any beef, by the way. If he ever watches this, like I don't care. Just I'm kind of a spiteful person in the middle of a tournament. That's the thing is like everyone's like, oh, he's too positive, but like to other teams in my mind, I'm very competitive.
Mm,
Once I'm out of the tournament, I can turn it off and be grateful and be like, hey, you know, good luck to them. And also like once I'm out of a draft, like what can I fucking do? The team can't hear anything I say. I could tell the world that I think my team's gonna get bopped 30-0, terrible draft, and it won't change anything about how they play, right?
yeah.
They don't even know what I'm saying in the series because nobody's like checking through a VOD and being like, what did Blitz say about us? Like nobody gives a fuck, guys.
No.
I just do that stuff for like the general public, and I thought I was being positive and injecting positivity into the world by saying like it's not the worst thing in the world to lose. Like
Mm-hmm.
life moves on. But I guess I was fucking wrong, and I'm just gonna talk shit all the time now. Um, so then
It is
Entity
cooler.
gets 2-0'd. I laugh. It's kind of funny. Falcons 2-0s. Happy for my boys. That means like, you know, we're like top four right now. Us Falcons Gladiators, which I'm a big. Obviously, I'm really good friends with Andres, um, Quinn. So happy about that. Uh, really scared about playing Tundra. I remember I felt like Pure was probably one of the best players in the world outside of my team. I thought this guy was a monster. It feels annoying to gank him. His hero pool feels limitless. He is just a really good Dota player. You can say whatever you want about him personally. I don't know him very well. Obviously, has had some dumbass mistakes, but he's like young, so whatever. But really fucking talented. And that was one of the matches I was like, this will be dicey. You know, that was kind of how I felt.
Was that a matchup that you were compared to like matching up against like Falcons or Game of Gladiators, like how does that compare matching up against Tundra at that point?
I would have preferred to play the other two, to be
Yeah,
honest.
just because you
If
know
I
them
remember
better,
thinking,
or
yeah, I remember thinking we had a good amount of confidence against GG, and I remember thinking like Tundra was a big unknown, and they were kind of cleaning house.
mm,
Thompson was on some really fucking annoying shit at the time, and when Thompson's really fucking annoying, you're gonna have a tough time.
yeah,
It's not easy. I'm only looking away because I dropped something.
yeah, that's fine.
Hope you guys can't see my butt.
You can't.
So yeah, Thompson is like I'm fiddling around with my USB. So yeah, Thompson was really fucking annoying, and I was just like, this is gonna be a slog fest, and it fucking was. We should have 2-1 them. I remember game 2 was kind of like it was kind of winnable, but I think we had some argument about how the game should have been played. We did some like YOLO stuff, like drafting um, Dawnbreaker 4, which we had never done before, but Neta felt good about it. I still think it could have worked, but we kind of fucked up like 2 fights in a row, and then the game was kind of hard to win from there because we had to keep scaling. And then they happened to pick the exact same fucking 5 heroes again. I hate when people do that. You
Okay, so as
arrogant
a
fucks.
drafter, when a team does that, what do you
Yeah.
think?
I think to myself, you fucking morons. I get so mad. I get so irrationally angry. I remember Sammy Boy did it to us before TI Last Chance qualifiers. They like Apex or whatever, whatever their team name was called. They just drafted like the same heroes minus like 1 change or something, and then we drafted the same heroes. And I was just like, what did you guys expect to happen? You think we have like no brains and we're just like not gonna adjust or figure out anything?
Mm,
So we bopped Sammy Boy, but Pure ain't Sammy Boy, so it was a bit more competitive. There's like one bad moment where we try to end the game a little bit early, but it's still fine. And then Neta has like the sick Wind Waker save, but all in all, the game should have been won pretty easily, but it got spicy for no reason.
yeah. So you guys beat Tundra. You're now in the upper bracket finals. Game of Gladiators did manage to 2-1 Falcons. And they
Yes.
did it. They lost the initial game, but they were picking up serious momentum because the game 2 and game 3 against Falcons were not close. They just steamrolled them.
Yeah, I remember watching that. I was kind of like, yikes. And then we played against them, and it was kind of like, yikes. We didn't even give them Chen or anything. That's what when people are just like, you can't give them this hero or this hero, this hero. Bro, I'm trying. Like, I wish I had 50 bans. I really wish I had 50 bans. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. I tried so hard. You don't understand. Like, me and Neta are really trying to grind. We're like, we can't give them this hero. We can't give them this hero. But when a team is good, you're a hindsight Harry. You can be like, oh well, you lost to this hero. Clearly, this was the problem. It don't work like that. Um, yeah, a good team usually has like a second strat to go along with that, and their playstyle is developed enough that it's really hard to beat. So yeah, we get absolutely crushed. Morale's a little bit low. I remember the next or before we played, I had an epic speech. I told my team, we're gonna fucking get to the finals because that's our fucking birthright. I don't give a shit about this Falcons team. Like they've been whooping our ass all year, but now's the time for us to fucking just like send it to them. Like fuck the crowd that keeps chanting for them that was paid actors. Like I'm here to fucking win. Mickey's like, damn dude, I'm inspired. Everyone's good to go. We get in there, we just work Falcons, like no problem. We just dumpster them game after
Mhm.
game. Get to the finals, feeling kind of good. Get dumpstered. Just bang, bang, bang. Just slap, slap, slap. It is what it is.
You guys got steamrolled in the first game. Game of Gladiators basically did to Falcons, and they did it to you 24 minutes.
Yep.
Game 2 actually went a little bit longer, but that one was
It was not a winnable game.
it was
Like
not a
we
winnable
just
game.
all adjusted to try and like mid game fight them, and it was ugly.
Yeah.
Like I kind of walked away from that draft, and I was like, fuck, like this one's gonna be tough.
So
Yeah.
you're saying that game 2 draft was like specifically tailored
Yeah,
to
we
make
tried
sure
to.
you did not lose in 25 minutes?
Yes,
And it
exactly.
was still
And
unwinnable.
that's the problem with like drafting in that mentality is like everyone's like, well, just get out of the lanes. I'm like, I wish it were that easy. Like John or whoever's, like whatever random Redditors like messaging me and telling me like to eat shit. Like I'm trying, dude. Like I wish I had a billion bans. Like I could win every tournament against every team if only I got 50 bans and they got like the standard like 11 or some shit.
Uh-huh.
But that's just not how my fucking life works, and unlucky. Not
Yeah.
enough bans.
Not enough fans.
Not
So
enough bans.
you lose another finals.
Yeah.
And it's probably one of the most one-sided finals.
Okay,
Uh,
man. Like, rub it in.
you get absolutely trashed by Game of Gladiators harder than you have before. Things aren't getting better. Things are getting worse, William.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It was sad. I was like, fuck. Actually, the vibes were really good because Neta was like, guys, they're fucking frauds, and we'll get to prove it at TI. Who gives a shit? Like, fucking get the shit out of your brains. Like, I don't give a fuck. And that's what I'm saying. Like these guys are frauds. Like, I've been buttering up Quinn for the past 2 years so that I can fucking work him in the way that matters.
All right, so vibes were actually fine because 33
Yeah,
was
vibes are fine.
just told people to shrug it off.
Yeah. Also, like, we don't ever get that sad. I think Nisho is a little bit sad, but other than that, like, I think everyone was fine.
I don't know how. Like, can you explain? Can you go further into that? Like, you guys have been killed by this team over and over and over again in finals.
Yes,
And
thank
again,
you for pointing that out again. Yeah, sure.
From our perspective, it doesn't seem to be getting better. The series
Yeah.
is not getting closer. You guys got 5-0 by them. How
Sure.
how are you not like, fuck guys? We're never gonna beat this team?
I don't know. I think that's some loser ass mentality. I feel like losing sucks, but what sucks even more is if you just kind of give up. I think then you're kind of a loser. As soon as you think like you can't do it. And I like celebrating little wins. Like I remember last year we got our asses beat by Gladiators 40 times in a row, but then in Riyadh we knocked them down the lower bracket and eventually they lost. And for me that was like improvement. Obviously we went to finals, we lost again, but like that for me is like it should be celebrated that you like conquered something. And it's like the little steps, the fact that like we went into this tournament, we were pretty confident, we had good ideas, we got second place. Like it's not the end of the world.
Mm.
It's fucking if you've ever done anything at this level, which most of the people watching here will never have, and I'm not trying to say that as an insult, but I'm trying to say you're trying to be the best, like let's say including my staff, like eight in people in the world at something, right? Like Chloe's the best manager, so L, Jabs is already the best coach, so L, and you're trying to do this. It's not easy to win. Like they're also trying to win. They're also really trying to win, and they're also really good at the game. So it's not that simple. And so we're trying our best. And I didn't feel like we played a lot of pubs. We had good ideas. We had good scrims. It just didn't work out. And what can I be mad about that? Like how am I supposed to be mad at my team? Like what am I gonna say? I wish you were Gladiators and I could just pick Chen every game and do this shit. No, like that's not how it is.
Yeah.
So. Like fucking, I'll move on with my life, and that's life. L liquid.
All right, so Riyadh's over, and you're
Yeah.
focused on TI. Do you feel like your team actually before Riyadh and TI? Do you feel like your team cared more about Riyadh or TI? Riyadh's the bigger prize pool. TI's the bigger, deal.
I will always care about TI more.
Yeah.
I guess I'll let people behind the scenes know. Players will always care about TI because, I think Riyadh's a cool event. Money, yay. But at this point in our careers, if you're like a top 5 team in Dota, you make enough money and it's fine.
Sure.
I got in trouble about that recently, but if you make enough money, you're fine, so you don't really care. Whereas like the prestige of winning a TI, you're such a limited amount of people will win TI.
Yeah,
And
there's
you don't know when it'll
prestige
go
and
away.
history that goes into it, right?
Yeah, and you don't know when Valve will just stop running the event. So like you want to get in there while you can. I don't think they're trying to end it anytime soon. That's not me doomsaying, but like at the same time, you don't know when you're gonna quit. You don't know when Dota will be over, and that's a piece of history in esports that has always been looked at. You don't. Maybe not everybody knows what Dota is, but everybody knows, or a lot of people know in esports, like what the international is and what winning that is. So in that regard, I think the prestige of that is always just going to be insanely high. So that's kind of how I felt about it.
Okay, so I feel like Insania said similar things, so you guys seem to be aligned in that regard. So Riyadh's done with, okay, now for the big one, now for TI. What was that gap? Because there was like a month and a half like gap.
Yeah,
between
they went
Riyadh
to
and
Peru.
TI. Yeah.
Which I was happy they won. Good for them.
Mm-hmm.
I got a lot of DMs and tweets, and I read out some comments that were saying like Blitz is going to be sad if they win. I'm like, no, I'm going to be fucking happy if they win. Like, of course I'd be happy if my team won. And then I guess like the next thing that people kind of say is that like they only won because of KP and they needed to lose Blitz, and that one kind of made me salty because I was like, do you think that getting second at Riyadh is harder than winning Peru
getting
against
getting
OG in
first
one
at
win?
yeah.
Yeah, like I'm sorry, but you know, it is what it is, and all it does is make me salty at KP for no reason. Who's not doing anything wrong? He's just trying his best. So I was like,
Mm.
fuck that noise. I don't give a shit what people say. Like I know I'm a good coach. Like suck my nuts. And I know that like there are some things I can't do, and I'm not gonna be stubborn and just fire KP because not that I was planning on it, but like my ego isn't so big that I understand that like I can't learn more from somebody else and that he can't provide something that I can't. Like I don't mind that.
Hmm.
I love being on Liquid. They're just like, you're not good at that. Let's go find somebody that is. Yay.
So what did
Um,
why did you pick up KP? My understanding was he was a replacement to Jarex as a gameplay coach.
yeah, I mean, I've been waiting for somebody for a while. Funny story, like you can believe me or not, but maybe a year ago, even maybe a couple months after TI, somebody asked me like, if you would ever hire somebody else, who would it be? And I said, I think I've got a pretty good feeling about KP. Um, he had approached me at some event about maybe playing for Liquid because we were looking for a replacement for Zai, and
Yeah.
LKP didn't know if he was good enough. But I really liked. I've always liked him as a person. I think he's really cool. And I always tell people that you can learn the Dota stuff, but you can't really ever learn the interpersonal stuff. Like if you suck as a person, you just suck.
Mm.
Um, and you can't really like fix that in a sense. Does that make sense? Like you can't really like
From a Dota team perspective, yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
in
like,
my mind, like I can teach you to be a coach, but I can't teach you to be like a chill person that fits our environment.
yeah, that takes way
Um,
too many hours of therapy and
yes,
to go
and
through. So,
yeah, I mean, it was way easier to kind of get him on the same page, um, and just like trying to get him up to date about what I wanted out of a coach. Does that make sense? Like
yeah.
that part was way easier than the interpersonal stuff. So I was like, I really like KP as a person. And coaching, the main thing about it is that your players like you and they respect you and that you fit the vibe of the team. Right? My
Mm.
team is you've hung around them. They're very easygoing, no yelling. I mean, I think if you ever yelled on my team, I would just look at you like, what the fuck's wrong with you?
Hmm.
Um, I think I'd kick you so fast if you were like the type of player that yelled or the type of coach that yelled or had to shout to get your way, then I think you're a fucking child. And like, it has its place, but if that's the only way that you know how to teach, then, I'm sorry, but this isn't really for you. Or this team isn't for you. And I just felt like KP was just such a cool guy. So, anyways, he messages me, bit of bad timing, like 2 weeks before Riyadh. I was like, we don't really need a coach for Riyadh, but like maybe after, I'm planning on taking a break potentially. You'll have some room to work at Peru. And I love trying to create jobs in the Dota scene. And he was a guy who didn't really know what to do, wasn't really sure, wasn't going to TI, and I felt like okay, like let's give him some direction here. When I said in my post game speech that like I was so lucky to have people that gave me a chance. I want to be able to do that for the next group of people in
Hmm.
the scene, which is why like I hired Heen off of nothing. Heen had no coaching history. Heen had like no. I mean, his biggest competitive experience was beating my ass in Korea. But we still hired him because he's a cool dude and cool people that are okay at the game deserve a chance.
Mm.
So that's how I felt about KP. He contacted me. He seemed really earnest about it. He seemed like a really good guy, you know. And he just wanted to like be useful. And I'm like, yeah, let's fucking run it. And he was fucking great. Like I knew it would work out. The one thing that I'm good at is spotting talent. Like I knew this unknown talent named Nisha would really be good. I could just hitch my wagon to him.
He was on this little
Uh,
team called Secret. Fucking,
yeah.
nobody fucking heard of them or Nisha before.
Yes. But yeah, that's kind of how I felt about um, KP. I was like, oh, he's great, and he's gonna do it. So yeah, super glad to have been proven right.
So he goes to the team with Lima. It goes well. You guys win the tournament. You're happy for them. You going into TI, does that Lima win? Does that actually like help the team in any way? Like, did you guys actually have any sort of mental block about finals and actually being
No, I don't think so.
winning or
I think if
anything like
anything,
that?
that event was bad for us. There was a lot of issues.
Why?
I just think that it was a really long. We had such a long boot camp for Riyadh, and then we had such a long boot camp for or like Riyadh itself because we went to the finals is a really long time, and
Yeah.
then right after that we had to fly the next day in the afternoon. We're flying to Peru, and it's just too much in a row. And I think the guys are exhausted. I got a text from Boxy, and he said our Korean now that our Korean pillar has gone, like our house of cards has fallen apart. It was kind of a cute message.
Yeah, you were
And
telling
then
me that your team was falling apart at Lima,
yeah,
essentially. That things were
wasn't great.
not good.
I got a lot of helps, and I was trying to kind of work around it because I really needed the time off, but I was trying to like fix things while not fixing them. I didn't want to be the catalyst for conversation or like trying to fix things in the moment.
Yeah.
Um, I was like, but yeah, I just kind of did it in a side a long way where I gave Jab some advice on how I would handle things, and then I just social engineered people to talk to each other, and but they were good. They didn't need me. They just needed
Do
a
you
little
think it
bit of
was
a
just
push.
stress that had built up?
Yeah,
And
I think it was just stress. I think that was it. Because realistically, we should wash that tournament. The
sure.
meta hadn't changed. Team is really good in a good space. Like we should have just crushed it, but didn't happen. It's fine. They picked it up where it mattered. I don't give a fuck if they win 3-0 in the finals or 3-2 and wins a win. So it is what it is.
Okay, so TI boot camp for TI, how's that go?
Boot camp before TI starts off. I remember thinking it was a little rough, if I'm honest. So the nice part is my friend Andrew got me a journal. Shout out to Andrew. He got me a journal and a pen for my birthday, and I started to take notes a lot. Even though my handwriting's dog shit, even I can't really read it. But I remember that I reread it in preparation for this. I remember the first 3 days I was not happy. I was like, practice ain't going well. And I remember Victor asked me, he's like, what is it looking like? Because we always have honest conversation, me and Victor. Victor
To
at
be
Liquid,
clear
by the
to the
way.
listener, Victor is the co-CEO of Team Liquid.
Yeah, best boss I've ever had in my life. Zero pressure. He just kind of wants to know what's going on. That's it. As a
Mm-hmm.
boss, super hands off, like trust what I'm doing. Um, yeah, he's just like, so how's it going? Like, what are our chances of TI looking like? I was like, bad, so bad. I was like,
Yeah.
the practice not good, not going well, all bad, all bad. But then I think in the last 4 days, I messaged him again and I said, practice is really fucking picked up. We're really starting to like come into our ideas. I think we have some good shit, and I think we can cook this tournament. And yeah, I think that was like kind of the sentiment heading into TI.
What
Vicky made some
changed in
comment.
that little window of like 3 days of just absolute awful, and then like what is that fourth day? What happens on that fourth day that changes so much? You guys just start winning some scrims. You guys figure out some draft stuff. What?
I don't know. I can't really tell you what exactly it was. I just kind of felt like the switch flip, and I felt like the
Mm,
confidence went up, and I felt like everyone kind of had a better idea of what they wanted to play. I felt like everyone had a better idea of like what was going on. And I thought it kind of just like everything just clicked. Like weirdly, it
mm,
just kind of worked.
okay. So you're feeling good for TI.
Yes, very solid, like above average.
Okay. Tournament starts. You guys are in a group with Team Spirit. So you guys had
We
this
are.
pretty weird situation that happens almost immediately from the group stage where you are guaranteed choice, I guess, in the seeding decider match. You're guaranteed either first or second because you both beat Aurora and Beast Coast.
Yeah. I love, by the way, I thought you were gonna say because they're just bad teams for guaranteed top two. I was like, what? That's wild, dude. I dead ass thought that's what you were gonna say. I thought that's where you were going with that.
I
I
mean,
was
I
like,
also thought
Jesus.
that from when I saw the groups. I was like, okay,
Yeah,
well, they're guaranteed top two. There was,
that's kind of how I felt too, if I'm honest.
yeah. I mean, if I looked at like, I thought one win was going to be pretty decent, maybe heroic. Like I thought Group A would have been competitive. I thought Group C could have been competitive. Yeah, B and D were definitely where I thought there was like a segment, tier
Yeah,
one and tier two.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, we go into that day. We play against Spirit. We don't really care. We figured like we're most likely going to be playing against Bedboom one way or another, anyways, because probably would have chosen them.
Sure.
Spirit's probably not choosing them. Like it is what it is, you know. Like
Oh,
fuck it.
why
Like
isn't Spirit gonna choose Bedboom?
I would imagine there's like some friendships there. Plus, like they probably think Nouns is a walkover.
Sure.
Spoiler. They weren't. But yeah, I remember we played against that game, and something a little bit annoying is that everyone keeps saying like, "Oh well, Spirit got robbed. They were the only team to beat Liquid at TI." I'm like, yeah, but you know we learned a lot. There was a lot of games played in between us losing to Spirit and us winning the tournament, right? Like if you go look at our drafts, we got a lot better. We
Mm.
changed our priority on heroes like crazy. Like everything changed. In
From
that
from
game,
that
we ran.
from that, do you feel like that Spirit loss was the series that you
Yes.
learned the most of the entire tournament?
Wait, let me just show you. Not show you, but there was a specific game that really jump started it for me. I don't know what it is for Neta, and I don't want to speak for him because Neta's a fucking genius.
Okay.
Um, but there was maybe it was a scrim. I think we played a scrim right before in between that, and there was something draft wise that I felt was kind of tricky. That I approached him about, which I won't say because Dota's still being played, and I don't know when Valve will patch the game, so maybe we'll have to do the same exact thing. But there was like a specific situation that him and I kind of got into an argument about that I felt like I had a good point. He felt like it wasn't a good point, but then we ended up doing it anyways, and it ended up working out okay. So,
Mm.
um, yeah, I mean, but like, yeah, when you lose, the nice part about losing early in groups and why I never really care about groups is because you learn a lot, right? Like you learn from your losses way more than you learn from your wins. Some teams can just win every game and that's fine for them, but like we're stupid, so we need to lose.
So was this a situation where it was different from the entity loss, where you guys uh looked back at the loss, even if you didn't care about
Yes.
the outcome, you looked
Yeah.
back at the series?
Precisely. Precisely. This
Okay.
was not like a loss that anybody cared about in terms of like, oh shit, we lost, but like we did want to win, and it did kind of. There was a lot of arguments around this specific series. Actually, it was the Spirit game. I won't say which draft, but there was a draft in there that really taught us something.
Okay.
Um, but there was like some exchange of things that happened uh that I'm not trying to be like, oh, I know this thing and I can't tell you. It's just genuinely, guys, we might play on the same patch and I might still do the same thing because I'm not original and I don't know how the meta will progress. So unfortunately, I'll keep that one in the pocketbook until some time has passed.
Yeah.
Once Valve has released a patch, then we can do like a TI draft analysis video at some point. But yeah, this game taught me a ton. There was a lot to have learned.
Okay, so you guys learned from that. You have your seeding decider match. As you said, you kind of already felt like you were going to be playing up against BetBoom, and you do indeed end up playing against BetBoom. You guys are very confident about that matchup, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to jinx it, but I'm walking around with some swagger.
Okay.
I know we're gonna smash these guys. The fact that they beat us a game was really like, yee. You know, I was
Yeah.
a little bit like, oh boy.
It was a 23-minute game.
Yeah, shut the fuck up, dude. I know what it was. Nah, I was just like, shit, we got whomped. It was not competitive. Yeah, I was a little bit like, yeeks, and then then game 3 happened. It was fine.
What if I could ask, that game 2, do you feel like that was a draft problem, or do you
Yeah,
feel
that was.
like your guys didn't?
I think. I mean, Aiden watches these, and I don't think he'll mind me flaming him a little bit. He made some move to top that wasn't great.
I think
We
he
learned
has
some.
said something about this. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I don't. I actually think Aiden, by the way, was one of the best players in this TI. I think at worst he was the second best five.
Mm,
And I think he was the best five, if I'm honest.
yeah.
I think Whitemon also had a really great TI, but other than that, I think it
Yeah. He
was
killed it.
pretty decidedly Aiden. And so he had bad move, which I think he learned from actually. That was really great. He didn't let it hit his confidence. He's like, okay, I fucked up. Kind of griefed the lane, and then you don't really get to see how the game goes. But I think that the game was bad. If that one mistake kind of determines the game, then in my mind, your draft was something was wrong with it.
Mm,
Hypothetically, I think this 18 Chen into 23 Alk is pretty toxic, and we didn't really have the best answers to it. And then we learned some things about drafting from this game as well, which is really nice. And that's kind of what I felt like was the difference is we kept learning from our losses. We're like, okay, this loss draft wise, we lacked this element to our drafting, for example. So yeah.
So you guys are kind of losing it just the right amount. It sounds
Yes,
like.
precisely. It's actually so perfect. Like our TI run couldn't have been better. It's like we learned something. Then game 3 we adjust. We just ban the Alk. And then we learned something about this Alk hero, which we later applied to Gladiators. Ban that fucker. So yeah, it's very cool.
All right, so you end up winning, which means your upper bracket. Your matchup is against Extreme. Can I assume you guys were quite confident about that?
Yeah, we're just like, we're going to bop these kids.
I assume anybody who's not Western Europe, you guys are assume you're going to bop.
Oh,
them.
yeah, for sure. For sure. I kind of felt like Extreme, they've been needing a fraud check for a while.
Yeah.
I want to explain this term. It's just a joke term. Me and Netta would say, like, these guys are frauds, even when they would beat our ass. It's just funny to say. Like, you just call everybody frauds, and you say you're going to fraud check them. Then you lose, and you say, we'll fraud check them later on down the line. Like, they'll have, we'll have our time in the sun. Netta's so funny, actually. I'm going to miss working with him. But, yeah, we get Extreme. Our bracket, honestly, is looking kind of tasty, Austin.
Yeah,
it's looking
is.
kind of tasty.
It's looking pretty scrumptious over here because you've got Falcons and Gaming Gladiators, just like Riad is on the other side of the bracket.
And Tundra. And Tundra.
And Tundra. So you don't even have to play Tundra this time around. So you just have Cloud9 standing in your way.
Yes. I'm like chef's kissing it. The only other team that might have had an easier route was Gladiators. Jesus. I mean, no offense to Nouns, but actually Nouns really brought it to them was the funniest part.
Yeah, they did. They did.
Yeah, we had to play Extreme. Confidence is like okay. Drafts work out phenomenally. Apply what we learn. Went really well. I felt like we had such a good read on this team. I thought Netta did such a good job prepping, and just had like a really good soul read on this team as a whole. And that's one thing that I mean, we can talk about Netta later, but yeah, he just did a really good job this series.
Nice win. You guys are now top 6, which means you don't play for a while.
Yeah.
You guys have this break until the final 3 days where you go into the stadium. How does that break go?
We can't scrim anybody, by the way, during this time. I think like Extreme refuses to play us because they said like we fucked them up or something, and they didn't want to do that again. And
you guys caused some fraction within their team.
Yes,
is how I understand it.
Yes, and I was telling them as a joke we would throw scrims for them because it's scrims. Who cares? Like, if I was telling their manager, you want us to lose scrims to your team? Like, we got you. Like, Team Liquid's good at losing scrims. So we don't really have a lot of options at this point. Falcons refuses to play us because they said they thought there was a chance that we could drop down or something. Wait, no, maybe that's. No, I think this was. Yeah, I think they thought we would drop down or something. So Falcons refuses to play us. Betboom refuses to play us. Gladiators asked to scrim us. We said, fuck you. You're not learning shit from us. We're way ahead in the meta. Like, eat our ass. So that's how that went. So then eventually
did they respond to that?
I don't think we said it like that. Obviously, we just declined politely. But that was the mentality. We're just like, fuck these guys. Not scrimming them. So yeah. And then Aurora would like the way that they played was way too early. So then like our only option to scrim was like Extreme, and they didn't want to scrim. So then we had to scrim Avulus and One Win or something like that. I think those were like the only options that we had. Maybe it was like maybe at this point One Win is already out, so it's just like Avulus, and those guys kind of clapped our cheeks. But that was kind of helpful in itself too. We probably learned a little bit.
Yeah, Avulus, for those of you guys don't know, that is the team with Stormer and I don't remember who else, but they are
Eki. I can tell you actually.
Okay, I will just say that they are a team that a TI winning team should not be losing to.
I wish I could see like the drafts. I just know we got clapped. I could, if I was not being lazy, I could load up the drafts right now, and I wouldn't tell you guys drafts because they're still trying to play qualifiers and stuff. But they had some good ideas. We had some bad ideas. We're trying to. I think some people like really. We are a good scrim team sometimes, but a lot of the times like we're probably the team that is willing to experiment the most within scrims, and so sometimes you will beat us. And
so you are curbing out bad ideas.
Yeah, exactly. We're trying to figure out what the healthy medium of what can and can't work kind of is, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But yeah, like I have no fucking idea. Yeah, who knows? Just maybe they were just frauds. I'm just kidding. I like Daniel. It was actually really helpful to scrim them. Um, the one team I feel kind of weird about is like One Win. I do think those guys are like better than showing. Just like whatever happens, like I don't know, like meth hits them or something, like some meth explosion just like goes off in their like room, and they can't like translate it quite yet. But I still have high hopes for that team. I really do.
I
I
mean,
think they're a
it
talented
was
group.
like their first TI. These guys are all like very
Yeah.
young players, so it definitely felt
Yeah.
like there was some strong, heavy amount of underperformance at this
Yeah.
event.
I think Netta, for example, he has his own method for how he figures shit out, so I can't speak for him. But for me, I just steal. And I stole from One Win a lot. Let me just say, they're probably the team that I think I respected the most in terms of ideas.
Mm.
Um, you know, what percentage of that actually goes like pen to paper is probably a little bit limited because Netta's, the true mastermind. But yeah, I think they're really good, and I hope they like continue down their path without too much like hesitation.
Okay. All right. The main event is starting. The final 3 days of TI. You guys have your matchup against Cloud9. You've already heard from Falcons or BetBoom that they think that you guys are going to get trashed by Cloud9 and you're going to end up in the lower bracket.
Yeah.
How's your confidence going into that series?
Pretty solid, honestly.
Yeah.
I felt like people build this team up, and I have a lot of respect for Cloud9, but I'm just like, what have they done to like make people think they're going to be a super scary team? This team has shown themselves to be really good in groups 2 tournaments in a row, and then they just like immediately lose 2 series in a row right after that. I thought they had a really easy route. Like their group was the easiest. Then they got to play Aurora. No offense. Like I thought we were going to fraud check them, and I felt pretty confident that we were going to do that.
And do you feel like you did that? I mean, you 2-0'd.
No, game 2 was really spicy.
Game 2 was very spicy.
Yeah, no, they were a good team. When I say fraud check, it sounds like I'm being callous and really arrogant, but like all these teams are obviously really good. You have respect for them, but you do you do look at their route and you're like, okay, they haven't really been tested, and we are. We're like a battle-tested veteran team. We know what it's like to play on a big stage. We know what it's like to walk up in there, have those stakes. And that does mean a lot. I do think that team, it's changed a little bit, right, in terms of roster, but I do think that team, they just needed more of those experiences, similar to what we had a while back, on the old squad with Matu and stuff. Like you do just need to get your ass beat a lot before you start to understand what works and what doesn't on stage.
So they're in this situation. That's, you think, the reason why they just keep bombing out upper bracket.
Yeah,
like they have good groups and then just playoffs they just can't perform.
Yeah,
but they'll get there eventually.
For whatever reason they just can't. They haven't been able to translate it yet, and I say haven't because I think they will. I think no one is really fucking good at Dota.
Yeah.
And any team that happens to be fortunate enough to have him is going to succeed. I think Astini's a good coach that gets more out of his teams than they normally should get. So I clowned on him a lot about the Riad shit, but like I do have respect for them. That's just me being unfiltered and just like talking shit for fun. But I think they're a good group and they have a lot of good ideas and they're scary. Just for whatever reason, they just like choke a little bit. Their team liquid, haha.
Upper bracket top 3, you made it. But
Yes,
you've
sir.
been here before. You're gonna match up against Game of Gladiators, who did manage to. They worked Tundra. This was a situation where like I felt pretty confident about you guys. I do think from my limited perspective, I felt like you guys had developed. It felt like you guys had more tools in the toolbox than you do most tournaments.
Yeah. No, for sure.
And so from that regard, I felt confident. But then I saw Game of Gladiators work Tundra, which I thought Tundra was very good. And it did give me a little bit of a flashback to Riad of like, oh, this team took their their upper bracket semifinal and just smashed their opponent. Like, damn, they're getting momentum. Are they just going to like keep it going the whole way through?
No, Tundra did 2 very useful things for us in this tournament. One is they did market research as to what we should fucking ban. Like that was the first thing. Like, thank you.
That's good.
Tundra.
That's
like,
good.
Jesus Christ. I don't even think Tundra got to play that game. Like neither of the games were playable. And I was like, okay, we're definitely not giving them those heroes.
Don't
and then it
give
became
them
kind of
Lungur,
easy.
Don't give them Broodmother. Yeah.
Don't give them Alk. it became really easy. Honestly, after that, like Tundra did the hard job for us. Tundra got their ass beat so bad that it had like a ripple effect into us winning TI. It was amazing. Like they did everything they weren't supposed to do in that series. You know what I mean? They were like it went so badly for them that it went so well for us. We're just like, okay, we're just gonna ban the heroes that they fucking beat their asses with. There's no way we're gonna let those through. Um, I was a little bit nervous before the draft because they beat their ass so bad, and then I looked at the draft and I was like, what are they doing? Like you couldn't have given Gladiators more heroes that they wanted.
Yeah.
I say that there's not enough bans, but I don't even know what I've got to go look at what they did with their bans in the first place. Like,
I mean,
and
I'll
I
tell
can
you
talk
right
all
now,
this shit because they ended up
they
getting
banned
top 3.
they banned Naga, Shadow Demon, Visage, and Sand King in there.
Oh boy. Okay, yeah, that was I could have told you some missing bans there. Usually you can get like 1 wrong, but getting like 3 wrong or 2 wrong is like it's gonna be a bad day for you.
Sure.
It's gonna be a bad day for you. So yeah, that's kind of how I felt about it. I felt like they did good market research for us. Thank you, David 10.
So you guys have you guys correct, and you guys banned the Broodmother. You banned the Lone Druid. You go into
Yes,
that
sir.
first game. And first game is, I mean, it goes for a while. I don't remember how one-sided this game was. It says 46 minutes.
This game was, in my mind, it's just like a ticking time bomb. I thought this game. I think Quinn might say it differently, but I felt like we were gonna win this game eventually.
Hmm.
I thought it was a really tough game for them to win, just from draft.
Okay.
I thought like conceptually they were gonna have a hard time.
Okay. So even though it goes 40 minutes, you guys just are building
Yeah,
up
I
more
felt.
of a gold lead, and you just feel more and more confident you're going to
Yeah,
win
yeah. I
eventually.
feel like at some point, this game is not gonna be lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I feel about
For
it.
what I understand, you guys feel like 33 Doom is auto win. So
Cha-ching! Gonna ban that motherfucker against him next year. Unless Saber's got like some sick like Doom that I don't know about. That shit's gone. I'm telling you that one for free, Netta Shapira. You're not getting that from me.
Going to game 2, it's even more one-sided than the first. You guys crushed some. Anything to say about the series overall?
Not really. I kind of felt like
I will tell you that I felt like gaming Gladiators was doing some weird shit. I mean, first of all, they're Duraccio heroes. They picked up Clinks. They picked up Muerta, heroes that I felt like were relatively untested, and I personally do not feel like they were very good. Like, I'm a big Muerta hater right now. Every single time I see Muerta carry, I'm just like, that ain't it. They even did Primal Beast, which I feel like, again, was something that I don't think I remember them playing it up until that point. Maybe
no,
I'm
but our
wrong.
bands were really good. I think our bands were just really good. We knew
Yeah.
Ace didn't play Kunkka. Brood Lone, Centaur's out. He needs a hero against Wind Ranger, so he's gonna play Strength Blade Mail carry or offlaner. That's just it's gonna be that, and it's not Kunkka. We checked this guy doesn't want to play Kunkka, so he plays Primal Beast, and then as far as Duraccio goes, I just felt like we did a good job of limiting the amount of heroes that he wanted to play. Alk was out of the pool, Monkey's out of the pool, Lone Drew's out of the pool, Brood's out of the pool, so a lot of their flex is gone. Then he has to figure out a hero that he wants to play against Visage. A lot of the traditional heroes that are usually good against Visage aren't very good in this meta. So like they just probably waited a little bit too long to figure out what they wanted out of their carry pick, and then it just kind of is like shitty.
So you drafted them into a corner, you feel like, for that
Yeah, I
upper
think it was
bracket
a hard.
final.
Yeah, I think it was kind of a hard. I think this game was really tough for them to win. To be honest, I don't know if Quinn will disagree, but I think this game was kind of tough for them to win.
Okay. You're in the grand finals. You've been in many finals before. Was this happy, or was this like just anticipation, anxiety?
I was elated because I knew we were going to win the finals at this point. I felt like a large portion of why um, we have like troubles is just because it's exhausting trying to get to finals in the first place because you have to wake up like 3 hours beforehand, play a really big series. It's fucking taxing mentally because you're just fighting off elimination. It's exhausting, and so I'm just cruising right now. Like at this point, mentally, I'm cruising. I thought we won TI. That's why I was willing to also shit talk and say some shit and like go for my like moment, make it a little bit more memorable. Because I really thought, obviously I have all the respect in the world for Gladiators, but I thought that playing against a team like Tundra into playing us, regardless of how the series went, would be exhausting for one of the two teams. I got to wake up that day like super late, rolled out of bed, chilled, got to watch some games, take a shower. Like my process was so like thorough, if that makes
Mm.
sense. And I know they have to wake up at like 8 a.m. They're probably exhausted. Obviously, game three is a dream for us because they're just draining each other.
Yeah, game three. I mean, it was the only series that, first of all, went the distance in the final 3
Yes.
days.
And
It
what a
was
game
also
to
the
do it on.
longest game of the tournament. It was game three, 69 minutes.
Yeah.
And so no matter what happens, like one of those teams got to be walking away just exhausted afterwards.
Yeah. Honestly, shout out to Moonmeander and Tundra. They really just made TI way easier for us all around, with with the way that they opened up some of the bans for us, the way that they exhausted Gladiators, it was a two-man effort. Like I should have thanked them on stage. That should have been my first thank you. Be like,
Yeah.
Thompson, you god.
Did you get any more drafting out of that lower bracket final? Watching the series, like, did you get any draft information, or did you already have that locked in?
No, I think we're just gonna run it back again. We
Yeah.
felt like I think we might have done the exact like identical bands. We're like, it's all good. We think we have a good read on them at this point. Feeling really confident, like I said. I just didn't really see the path that would make life easier for them. With the way that they had a ban and the way that we had a ban, I mean, I felt like our three bans were going to be the same every game. We were going to ban Alk, Lone Druid, Brood from first or second pick.
Mm-hmm.
And then in second pick, we just get an additional, like, whatever hero. We probably have to ban Sand King. I think that's what we ended up doing. So we're kind of set at this point. We told ourselves we're not going to lose to Brood. We're not going to lose to Lone. We're not going to lose to Alk. So it is what it is. If they beat us with another hero that they figure out, so be it. But we kind of knew this is kind of the tough part is like you don't get a lot of time. They probably had no time to prep for us after the loss. If they're probably eating food or trying to like do something as fast as you can. There's no way that CY until the fucking last second was even thinking about prepping for us. You know what I mean? Like because he doesn't know if his team's gonna get eliminated in 2 minutes from now.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of fucking my condolences to them. It's just a shit situation to be in, but like elbows us. We've had to do it 40 times.
So you guys have all the confidence in the world. Grand final starts. That game one, it does start a little spicy.
Yes. I'm watching
it
backstage
is probably,
with you.
despite the it is not the fastest game, but it is probably, or it's not the shortest game, but it is probably the closest, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they played really well for a while, but then they made like two really, really bad execution errors.
Hmm.
They probably could have won this game, but probably some combination of like, tiredness and just some mental slip ups, and then this game snowballs fast.
Yeah.
And then I think at this
Quinn
point
thought
we
so
won
too.
TI.
He thought game one was the game that they could have won. They really liked the Ricky pickup, for example.
Yeah, that was really smart. That was also our counter. I think Nisha said he fucked up and it should have been so one-sided, but it's fine.
Yeah.
I felt really bad for them. I'm talking all this shit because I'm having fun, but I felt like they were at a lot of disadvantages going into this. Imagine they don't play 60-minute game, they manage to 2-0 or something like that, and then they win this game. All of a sudden, they've won 3 games in a row. They've got a lot of momentum built up. We think to ourselves like, oh crap, like we've lost like 50 fucking games against these guys in finals in a row. Like, what do we do?
Yeah.
So this one was kind of probably like the determining game of the series in some sense.
So after you win that game, like you keep on coming backstage to the green room. So
to watch the game.
I'm interacting with you. You are extremely nervous because it's TI finals, but overall confidence wise, as a team after that game one, do you guys feel like, yep, this is it's done?
No, I think people were still very like honed in, but I did tell the team that was their best punch. We just took their best punch. It's kind of like I really like just sports analogies. I told them like, in boxing when like somebody just like all ins, that's their best punch. You didn't feel anything. We didn't get knocked down. We got wobbled a little bit, but I told Mick after the game, I was like, that was everything they had. They're not gonna have a better idea. I said, if that was it, then we won. Like, there's nothing left in the tank for them. That was it. Like, that is their ride or die strategy. We beat it. There's nothing left. There's no plan B at this point. Gladiators is a fucking phenomenal team. Um, I'll never take anything away from them. They beat our asses a billion times. So, like, I really did kind of feel like that.
Did you feel that way on their end when you were coming in through the lower bracket finals and you matched up against Game of Gladiators in the grand finals so many times? Did you feel like oftentimes your best punch was game one?
No, against them, I usually figure things out a little bit too late. It's just kind of the problem because I'm not that good as a
I see.
coach. I figured things out just a little bit. Like Riyadh, I felt like I had a good handle, but I figured it out by game 3, and that's bad.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I felt like it was a bit of the opposite here for them. I felt like this was their best idea, really good lanes, good strategy. If they can't win from here, they can't beat us.
Hmm.
That is genuinely how I felt.
Okay. And then game 2, game 3 happens. Anything notable come of the series?
Game 2 was probably like the one where we gambled a bit. I think it'll be released in our vlog, but we're just like this Naga hero. We don't think they really want to play it, and you're kind of gambling and buffing a little bit, and we're like, we don't think they really want to play this hero, so let's take the risk of because we were kind of hedging between banning Alk and banning Naga, if I remember correctly, but
Yeah.
I think correctly we both assessed that Naga was the correct hero to let through.
I mean, Sand King was also another one of those bands. That wasn't a part of your core 3 when you were when you had first pick.
Yeah, I mean, because we're gonna first pick Sand King ourselves.
Oh, I see. Okay, I gotcha.
So then that's the only adjustment that really gets made. We're having some argument between Alk and Naga, but it's not that serious of an argument. Neta's pretty locked in at this point. He knows what he wants to do. So we just end up banning the heroes that we're going to ban. And then the trade we figured was going to be fine no matter what. We were kind of curious as to know what they banned. We know that they would ban Doom because, like, which I think in hindsight was probably the incorrect thing for them to do. I think they would have probably had a better time against Doom in the finals, but it's hard to know that kind of stuff. And it's hard to know, like, how we prioritize heroes. I mean, you're just blind guessing. We're
Yeah.
making assumptions. They're making assumptions.
I think Quinn and Aiden came to the same conclusion, if I remember from the episode that we did.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think remember them talking about Doom and maybe should have left that through.
Yeah, I think they still would have lost, to be honest, but I do think that there was maybe a little bit more wiggle room for strategy there. That's all.
Mm.
And that's the only kind of interesting note on that. I thought that there was one. Let me think real fast. No, I think this one was pretty clear. I felt like the bristle pick was just godly.
Yeah, that
Felt like they had no
bristle
way to address it.
that bristle bag worked them in many different situations. It felt like 33 he just farmed and farmed and farmed, and then he was like, okay, I'm ready. And that game did stretch on a bit, but it did not feel like it was ever winnable.
No.
Game of
I felt like
Gladiators.
that one was really tough for them to win.
Yeah.
There was like one fight that they had because we fought on really weird terms, but other than that, the game was going to be won.
Yeah. All right, you're up 2-0. You just need to win one more. Potentially 3 more games ahead of you. Any now is there any sort of sneaking like, oh shit, we're actually gonna do it?
Yeah, this is probably the first time I let myself believe a little bit.
Hmm.
This is probably the most I'm like, okay, like I think we're gonna do this. I really felt like, okay, this could potentially be like a thing. Um, I started to get a little bit excited. I started to, you get that energy, like, okay, we're working these kids now. Like,
Yeah.
it's a really tough. I've been there, dude. Being down 2-0 in a finals, and especially it being TI, it's tough. Um, and then the draft happens. We get every hero we want. It feels like, and then I'm through the roof. I'm like, okay, we want TI. It's kind of how I felt.
And that game happens. You get more and more secure that you are actually winning TI. You go backstage. You do the whole prep thing. What was that like walking out on stage with your team? Having picked up the Aegis, and I mean, you already said you were crying backstage, and then you got to compose yourself a little bit. Then I imagine you get back on stage and you cry some more, and then you could do an interview and you cry some more.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a weird situation because I don't know. My brain is like, it's just like blank. You know what I mean? Like there's
Mm.
nothing to it. There's nothing in there. It's just blank. Uh, I don't really have a ton of thoughts. I'm just kind of like, holy fuck, what just happened? And then I realized at some point that we won, and I get on stage, I see my team, and it feels like a fucking movie. You know what I mean? Like I see my team on stage, it's popping. Like I don't know, it's such a weird, like it was such a weird situation. Like I don't know. I was just I I don't know if I've ever truly ever been like more happy in terms of a Dota context. I'm just crying. My it's like it feels angelic, like almost like a fucking movie, you know, like our biggest rivals, we've never won a LAN, all this shit, and I just see my team and they look so happy, and I just like I can't help but just fucking bawl my eyes out,
Yeah.
and yeah, then my mind just goes blank for the next like, and that's why I'm really glad that things are videoed and like you have a record of all this stuff because I don't think my brain could have really processed everything that was happening all at once.
Mm.
It was my first LAN win with the guys. I was in there for Peru, and like, what a time to do it! What a tournament to do it at!
Yeah.
The way that we did it, I know there was a lot that we had to go through to get to that point, and yeah, just felt incredible.
You do the interview. You thanking everybody from Liquid. You guys, you get to pick up the Aegis. You never touched the Aegis before?
No, the first time.
No, you never touched his talent or anything like that.
No, no,
How did that feel
first time.
to lift the Aegis?
It felt incredible.
Yeah.
Like I said, there was a huge like kind of like thing off my back. I was like, because I want to win another one, but it is really like relieving that you get to win the first, and then it goes through your brain like, okay, like that one's off the back. Now we can focus on the next thing because
Yeah.
I'm competitive and I want to win more stuff. But I think to myself, no matter what happens in my career, I'll have this moment to always look back on. And that felt really special. I'm not jaded. I love this game. You know, I'll always love this game so much. It's been the biggest part of my adult life, probably the biggest thing I've ever done in my life, and maybe will ever do in my life. Um, uh, so yeah, I mean, I was just really overwhelmed with a lot of emotions. I thought about everybody. It was like I felt like time slowed down and I had like a billion thoughts and I didn't have enough time to think everybody.
Mm.
I wrote down like a speech after, but I felt like it was a bit uh like that I was going to post on Twitter, but I felt like I don't know if it was worth doing so or anything like that. Maybe I'll just leave the moment. But yeah, I just like I wanted to take time to like make people realize that you don't really do any of this stuff alone. You know, for example, my sister worked really hard to get me a laptop so that I could play Dota in the first place.
Hmm.
For college, you know, my mom worked really hard so that we had a good life, enough so that I could even pursue this in the first place. Um, and then like, you know, I had a lot of help along the way, like Purge coming, Bambo, rest in peace, Corey Aosin coming to Korea to help save my life, and my life would have in Dota might have just been done at that point if it wasn't for them. Um, so you know, shout out to all of them. And then I was thinking about how when I came to casting with you and how helpful you were in supporting my journey as like whatever I did in my career and just like how helpful that was to just like making me always feel okay. Because you know you gave me life in the scene and I wouldn't have had nearly any of the success because I had some level of like financial freedom as a result of being like an S tier caster, and I would have never
Hmm.
reached that without you. And you know, I would have been the person that I am and the coach that I am without you as well. And then I was thinking about that, and then I was thinking about uh, you know, Matu and Zai joining in the first place and giving us that opportunity to get better. Zai in the first place for being the first person to move and believing in our team and what we were trying to build here, and really giving me a lot of creative control. Matu following along, Nisha, you know, leaving that team secret after beating us to knock us out of TI and still having a lot of faith in what we were trying to do. I know a lot of people were saying like we were retirement home and stuff like that, but like I never felt like that. I always felt like I was here to fucking win. Um, and then obviously Chloe, our manager, just doing such a good job, like day in day out, always having a really good attitude towards our team. Probably kept our Nisha sane for like the entire year by watching Love Island and like shitty horror films with him. You know, Jabs. He's been here nearly 5 years with us,
Yeah.
giving his health, his mind, every little bit that he has, so that we can just win one fucking game. Um, KP, who had to take a lot of like, uh, you know, he had to swallow his pride to like go from being a player to being like an assistant coach, just so he could like be a part of something like this. Liquid. I remember I had a conversation with Victor after we didn't qualify for TI, and I was like, listen, if you want to drop us, no hard feelings. Like I completely get it. And I remember him telling me, if this is the vision you believe in, I remember this till the day that I die. He was like, if this is the vision you believe in, I'll run it with you as many times as you want. Like if you really believe in this core, I'll believe in it with you like every step of the way. And I remember thinking to myself like, damn, like why? Like why did we deserve any of this like faith or confidence? And that made me feel like the best. And that's really kind of what crystallized how I treated my team in some sense, like being positive, telling them it's okay. Because here we are, just like didn't make TI, and they were just like, it's okay. I still have faith. And so like that's why I never gave up. I was just why would I ever give up on? And then all the friends that were really close with me, like Nat and Shiva were very good at sending me messages all the times that we lost and telling me like, still proud of you. It's still okay. Like see the progress. You're doing good, King. Andreas and Quinn were very good at like picking me up too, and making sure that like we were okay mentally and stuff like that. And their friendship really helped too. And so yeah, that's why I meant like you never really do any of these things alone. And so I had all of these like rush of emotions, and obviously it's not an Oscars acceptance speech where I get like 20 minutes to talk. I just get like a minute or two before it's cringe. So yeah, I don't know. I was just extremely happy, and I wanted all of these people, including you, to like feel that
Mm.
I didn't do it alone, and that I've never felt that way a single point in my career. And maybe I was like immature and more stubborn when I was younger, and I used to think that like I'm the smartest person and I'm such a genius and I'm just better than you, but like that's not how it works. Like you get given so much help along the way. And it's kind of sad that like it took me so long and so many years being the coach of a team to realize that you're just a product of everybody putting everything that they can into you, and being lucky enough to have people that care about you enough to like get to that point in the first place. Because like any one of those people don't do that for me. Purge doesn't show up. Purge, Aosin, Bambo, Corey don't show up in career for me. If you weren't like the best person ever to carry me through so many casts where I fell asleep or was a piece of shit lazy, if I didn't have like, it takes like one little brick to like not go correctly.
Mm.
And that's why like winning is so precious, is because it's like the margins are just so thin between being a really good team and being a terrible team. And so yeah,
Mm.
that's how I feel about it. And that's why I was so happy and why I was crying. And I'm crying now because I'm like, I'm just happy and it makes me feel loved. And that's like the end of it, is that I know that I'm super loved and that I was so lucky to be in this position. Life is just a product of everything that people put into you. And in that moment, like I knew I was a winner because like I had so many people that made this possible in the first place.
Mm.
And not necessarily that we won, it was just like a crystallization of all those little bits of things that people did for me. And that was like why I got so emotional. I didn't really care so much about the win. Like I cared about the win for my team, but like for myself, I just cared about the fact that everybody did so much for me,
Mm.
and took a chance on me. Like Aiden didn't have to hire me to be their coach. They probably had a lot of options at that point, being Liquid. And I also wanted to like thank Koikfa, um, because I remember he sat there and convinced me to be the coach. He's like, coach us. And I'd say no. And he'd laugh and he'd say, coach us. I'd be like, dude, fuck off. And then him and Aiden just like wore me down. And it's just been the best experience that I've ever had in my life. And I couldn't trade it a million times in the world. And obviously Tommy as well, despite everything that's happened to him, like I also appreciated him along the journey. Like, I always have love for him despite what he did. Yeah, it just, every little bit and every little drop helps. We had some guy on Reddit that his name is like Powder20, that I want to say sent me a message after every single loss that we had, and it's just like, hey, I'm still a big fan of yours, and I really care what happens to you guys, and like, I'm
Yeah.
still proud, and things like that really matter, and they help along the way, every little like push of it. And even like the haters, because now they can suck my ass. They'll probably still hate and they'll wait for us to lose, but like that's the perpetual hell that we're in, right? You talk shit about me, I talk shit about you, then you you wait for my downfall, I wait for my upfall. It's like it's this circle that we like will go in, and that's okay too. That's
Oh
all
yeah,
part of the
yeah.
journey as well. So it wouldn't feel nearly as good if it wasn't fucking like slam dunking in your guys' faces too. So yeah, I didn't have all that time up there to like say that, but if any of the people that I care about watch that, I hope that you understand how much you mean to me and how special that was, for me to be able to do that. Um, and I hope that my friends were able to see that like part of the reason I got so emotional is because like it was for them too.
Well, I do appreciate everything you said. I went out into the stadium, right? Because we're all sitting back in the green room, and then you had to leave
Yeah.
to prepare to go up on stage. And so I left the green room and went out on the main stage area, and was cheering from there. There was actually one of the staff was like, "You guys can't stand around." And I was like, shit.
Oh, really?
But I was just like, I really need you guys to hurry the fuck up and win. Cause like he was trying to make us leave. And I was like, I'm not fucking
Okay.
leaving.
That's good.
And yeah, we just got to watch you guys like, win. And, then you guys all go and pick up the Aegis and all those sort of things. Then you do the speech. I'm fucking crying.
That's good.
Got me good on that one. That was the
Yeah,
first time that I cried. And then everything happens and the ceremony happens, and then they do the post game panel, and you guys are, some of you guys are up there. Like I know Aiden stuck around, was like signing with fans and stuff. And then your mom came back from being off up on stage and walked past me and saw me and gave me a hug, and that made me cry again because then she said some very nice things to me.
Of
Which
course,
was
you're very loved in our family.
Yeah. So that got me again. So then I cried twice. She got me good there, man. She got me good.
Yeah, my mom's good at that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was really emotional seeing her too. And they kept cutting to her, and I was like, ah, fuck me, whatever. I just cry anyways. Don't care.
Yeah. It was nice. It was a good moment.
Yeah,
You got
Ellie
that
would
really good
cry.
picture, which I tweeted out of you holding the Aegis.
Yeah, yeah.
That was a nice one.
Just cries. Then I walked back. I had like billion messages on my phone, maybe
Yeah.
like 200 WhatsApp messages. Like Instagram, Twitter was probably like 1,000 messages I had to like type out. It was fucking tough. But yeah, I guess just like on a last note, I think my team is perfect, and no matter what happens from here on out, this group, like I'll never forget it. Like Mick is so cute. Can't wait to captain with him next year. He's my favorite person in the world, I think. Um, Aside from Dota, he's just so sweet and he's so earnest, and he took so much shit from so many people. Where people called him like a mediocre carry and said he was like shit and all that jazz. I would never trade Mickey in a million fucking years. I said that a billion times and everyone's like, loser ass coach won't kick loser ass carry. Like suck my dick. Like Mickey's the best carry in the world. Eat my ass. I'll never kick him in a billion years. Uh, Boxy, it took a really long time for him to prove how fucking good he is, and now for the past 2 years, I feel like this is one of the best fours in the world, and he's proved it time and time again.
Yeah, I
Um,
remember all the times that other players would tell you that Boxy was the weakest player on your team.
yeah, really fucking annoying. Boxy's a king. Uh, I mean, Boxy and Mickey are just like they're fucking incredible. Nisha's obviously fucking Nisha, the best mid for such a long time. Everyone
Mm.
still compares like Sumail and Miracle to him. I'm like, this guy has been so good for so long. Like his prime is like limitless. And then you have fucking Netta who has now proved it twice, doing
Hmm.
it two different ways. Like, what are you gonna say now? I bet at the end of his
There's no
career,
Wraith back this time around.
yeah, at some point in his career, I bet he wins again. Hopefully not against us, but like I bet he wins at some point.
Yeah.
And then they'll make up some weird reason. It's like some aura thing. Like fuck off. Like Netta's just fucking incredible. And Aiden is honestly one of the best people in the world. And I think he got to also prove not just that he was one of the best people in the world by staying behind, signing for all the fans, and to have the grace and character to do that in the moment when he could just as easily savor that moment with his friends and family. He shares that with other people. He also got to prove how fucking skilled he is on this big stage. I
Yes.
mean, I was like, can you learn this clock hero? Just does it. Pickable. He's ready with this Treant hero. He's telling us all this time, like, I'm gonna pick Treant. It's gonna be good. Ends up being the truth. His ench, like he sits there and he just works hard at it every day. I see him just play pubs and he's like, my Naga's not the best. You want to maybe pick Naga? I'm like, yeah, I think there's an opportunity for you to play Naga and SD. Grinds those heroes. You can go look at his pub history. Like, amazing. My team, perfect. Mickey gave me so much confidence before. He was like, if we don't win this tournament, we might never win. but we're gonna win this tournament because my pool is like so fucking good right now. Like my team was perfect. Like everything just like came along so well. Boxy was like this untiltable mountain. Nisha had just had the best attitude day in, day out. Like I could wax poetic about everybody on my team. I didn't get to do that on the stage enough, but they're perfect. All five of them, I wouldn't trade them for the world, except for Netta apparently. Like hell, crazy.
So we'll get to that in a minute. You guys come back from backstage. What goes on in that experience? Like,
Me and Mickey are just sitting on the couch with the Aegis.
Mm-hmm.
We're just kind of like, like really drained. Then
Mm-hmm.
Mickey says, "I want to get the fuck out of here and go home." I said, "Okay, are you being serious?" He's like, "I'm going to take the train home." So we start rushing things. We say we want to have like a final talk as a group.
Okay.
So then I walk back to the TI hotel, which is really close to the arena, and I'm skipping back. I'm listening to Gracie Abrams. Um, I love you, I'm sorry, and I'm just happy. And then I switch to like You're on Your Own Kid by Taylor Swift, and I'm just bursting with emotion. Have to sign a bunch of shit. We eventually get in the hotel. Then we have a team talk really quick so that Mickey can just get the fuck out of there. Um, and then yeah, just told everybody like in short, I love them. Thank you for the effort they put in. This was the most magical experience of my life. Like thank you for whatever happens from here on out. Because we're all aware that Ned is leaving. We're like no matter what happens, you know, this
Yeah.
was a special moment, and this was a special group.
Uh, so you guys already knew that 33 was leaving before this tournament.
Yeah, we did.
When did that come about?
Um, Also, you're gonna somehow stitch my speech together, right?
Yeah,
I need
I
to
got
watch
you.
that back.
Yeah.
I need to make sure that I didn't say anything too stupid.
No, you're good.
Um, okay, so Netta told me maybe after Riyadh, we're talking about his contract extension. I'm asking him if he's willing to resign. He tells me, if I'm honest, like, so he still has years left on his contract. I won't say how many for legal reasons, but we can still play with him next year. He's still legally obligated to play under us next year. But
Mm-hmm.
when he originally joined our team, he was like, "Well, how does this buyout stuff work, and how does like what happens?" I don't think he's being pessimistic. He's just very pragmatic. I don't think he was planning on winning a TI and bouncing. So then I think he was like, "Well, what happens if this happens? Like this happens?" And I always told him, "Listen, like it is what it is legally, but like if you really are unhappy or you want to switch something or whatever it is, I'll always make sure that you never get screwed." Team Liquid is an org, and me as your coach slash general manager, you'll never get fucked here. Like I don't care what it says in the contract or anything like that. We're always going to try and do our best, obviously within reason. If you have like a
Sure.
5-year contract left and you're just like, let me go for free, that's a little bit unreasonable. But we are an org that is committed to making sure that people aren't in contract jail and they're really happy with their situation. So he says, I think I really want to play with Soxa. Um, and I think I really want to play with the people that they'll get eventually. I'm sure some stuff has been leaked and people can put some pieces together, but there's like two really good friends that he wants to play with. And I was like, I get that totally. I did that with Zaya and Matu. I get it completely.
Yeah.
They obviously left after such a sick run on Secret. I get wanting to leave on a high note. It makes sense. I asked him multiple times. Uh, there was a little bit of contentiousness in the beginning between him and the rest of our team, like in the very beginning of our team and our roster. But I felt like by the time we got to like the mid-season mark, it really had worked itself out for the most part. He was
Mm-hmm.
really coming to his own as a captain, just as a person on our team. He was getting really comfortable with flaming me, like jokingly. He'd watch me play auto chess and just call me shit all the time and say, "Why do I never watch you win?" Because like in the beginning, when you're not really comfortable with people, you won't do that. But like as you get comfortable, you'll shit talk more and just like banter.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I was like, hey, is there anything that we did that could have made life easier? And Ned is a really blunt person. He's like, no. He's like, actually, I felt like this was my best competitive year ever, regardless of how TI goes. He's like, I had a great time. It's just I think I would really regret not working with some of these people and not trying to build things of my own from like scratch. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, like that makes sense. And yeah, I think a lot of people said something like, well, Neta never really fit in. People don't work hard. We worked really hard for Neta. As hard as our teams ever worked, like, we tried our best to accommodate him, and I don't think there was any beef. There wasn't a single argument, I think, in the past like 3 months, really. It was just one of those things where he felt like he wanted to do his own thing and he was comfortable doing that. He let us know early so that we could make our own plans. like fast, which I really appreciate. He handled himself with a lot of class, a lot of dignity. Gave me enough time to find a new player. You know, a lot of players won't give you that kind of um, timeline, and I think he respected that we were also professional and we would still work around that and not like give up on him. So it was kind of like a really good situation all around. As good of a breakup as one can be.
Yeah. Is this back to back to back TIs that you've gone into it knowing that one of your players is going to leave the team afterwards?
Yes, it's like some fucking like defense against the dark arts position, like stay on Team Liquid. Like it's just impossible, I guess.
Yeah.
It's fucking like tilting as hell. I don't know what happens, but like I guess nobody wants to stay on our team. We're
Did-
positive, but we're not that positive.
Did that change any of the vibe on the team for this tournament compared to
Not at
previous
all.
ones? No.
I think if anything, we just kind of regretted, or not regretted, but we were sad that Netta didn't wasn't gonna stay.
Yeah.
I think if anything, it really motivated us. I told everybody like, hey, even though he wants to leave, it's not beef. Like he wants to win just as much as we do. Like let's fucking do it for him. Let's do it for our captain. Like he worked really fucking hard. He's been keeping us afloat this entire time. Let's repay that back 100%. And everybody was super motivated to do it for him. There was zero beef. I'm telling you, like
Yeah.
Riad, I don't know how Peru was, but Riad and like TI, we didn't have a single argument as a group. Like there was no yelling, nothing, no bad feelings. I don't think Netta expressed any like issues or anything like that. It was just he wanted to play with Soxa, and I think that's kind of sweet. So,
And I think I would be remiss to ask, like, what was the conversation? Like, surely you guys win TI. There isn't like any sort of like, are you sure? Are you sure you still want to leave?
there was
like
that.
we just
So
won TI.
Right after we did that talk, maybe it was an hour and a half after we won.
Mhm.
I told you we met in the ballroom of the hotel, like downstairs where we played groups, had a quick team meeting. Then I told Mick, I think because he wanted to leave the fastest, I was like, I love you so much, dude. You're like my favorite person. I'm glad we got to do this together because we're probably the two that get the most shit on the team. I know what that feels like for him to get that vindication. I was like, you didn't need this win to prove to me that you're one of the best players in the world, but I'm glad everyone else can finally appreciate it, even though they still don't and they still shit talk. I see those comments. Go fuck yourselves. Then I dragged Netta to the room. I was like, hey, obviously we won, but like, what do you want to do? And he's like, I think I still want to keep to my original plan. Um, and I said, I respect that 100% of the way. We're gonna make this happen for you. Um, you brought us a TI win. Like, we as an org want to like repay that. So yeah.
Okay. So 33 is off. You need a new offlaner. You have already been figuring that out before/during TI, right?
Yeah. I'll tell you one funny thing actually before. I don't think he'll care if I call him out. It's a fun moment more than it is like a shit talking moment.
Yeah.
So Alan from OG, I see him at the bar. I'm not drinking, by the way. This is like day before we play. I just see him at the bar and I see Ari and BZM there and I want to go say hello. So I say, hey, what's up? And he's like, we're just kind of talking like, what's OG doing? He's like, what are you doing? And he's like, I heard about, Netta leaving. And then he gave me this rant, and his players were not agreeing with him, by the way. But he was like, "There's no way you will win this TI." This is when we were top 6, by the way. And I was like, "Alan, what are you talking about?" He's like, "How could you allow a player to tell you that he's gonna leave, and that like all of this shit?" He's like, "There's just no way it can work." He's like, "You're gonna tell me you want to win this tournament more than Amar?" And I was like, "Dude, I really want to win this tournament." Like, I was trying to tell him, like, like Netta also wants to win. He's like, not as bad. If he's thinking about leaving, he's got one foot out the door. Like, there's just no way that he cares about, like, that he wants to win as bad as some of these other guys. And I was like, okay, dude. Like, and his team is kind of like, I think he was a little bit buzzed and he was just having fun. So I don't think it was that serious. Nobody go flame him. I think this was just banter. We're just fucking around.
Yeah.
And
He's a
he's
chill
friends
guy.
with Amar. Yeah, so he's just hyping up his boy, but he's like, "There's no way you win TI like this. This was a huge mistake." He's like, "There's no way you should have let him even explore. This was all bad, and I just can't see this working out for you guys." And then we won, and then I saw him on the way out, and I laughed at him, and he's like, "I can't say anything." I said, "You dumbass, get fucked."
Yeah, that's funny.
So that was very fun. Yeah, he was talking so much shit. You have no idea. He went on like this 15-minute rant about how there's no shot we would win TI. That was very funny. So that was good motivation.
So you were shopping around. Saberlight. It seemed like to me. I mean, we talked about it. The debt like there didn't really seem to be too many options that you were choosing between. Seemed like you guys were just like locked in on Saberlight pretty early.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I'll always appreciate is like I love go-getters. I love the fact that KP messaged me for a job even though there was no open position or anything like that. I love the
Mhm.
fact that Saber, he told me that he wanted to stand in before KL. He was like he went out of his way to be like, I know you guys can't play with Neta. I know the situation. Like I looked it up, I asked around. I want to ring for you guys. I love that. I love that somebody is willing to be very professional, wants to be here, wants to do this, like, and then he messaged us a few times throughout the year, like, not in kind of like trying to break apart the relationship, but I think sometimes when it didn't necessarily look like it was working with Neta, he sent a message like, "Hey, what's going on? Um, I by the way, I still have interests." And then I think,
He's grinding. He was grinding. He wants to be
yeah,
on a better team than
yeah,
he was having. Yeah.
and I tell him it's never a bother because he's like, I'm not trying to be annoying, but like I do want to join you guys. And then I think he messaged Jabs in Lima, and he's like, hey, I don't know if you guys are gonna change, and if there's like no shot, but I just wanted to approach you and say whatever happens, I don't know what happened in the fucking shuffle, but crazier things have happened. I still want to join Team Liquid. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then Neta has a conversation with me. I message Saber, and because he's just been so persistent for like the past year of trying to get on our team. Um, and I thought that was so cool, that he just kept going for it, and he really wanted to be here. I've never seen anybody want to join our team fucking like harder.
Yeah.
No other player approached me during the shuffle, not a single one, and I think it was pretty public
Mm.
that Neta was leaving. I think the pro community knew because we reached out to some people to see if they were interested. Not even if because we wanted to, but just due diligence, right? Ask who's available and stuff like that.
I'm going to ask because I know the audience will want me to ask.
Sure.
Can you say who
I
you
know who
reached
you,
out to?
I reached out to Faith Beyond. I think we inquired about one player, two players that are under contract, so I'd rather not say.
Sure.
But I'm sure the general public can guess based on rumors, but those are true.
Aiden
Asked two players.
Aiden told me he encouraged one of those.
Yeah, he did. He wanted one real bad. Which is like no disrespect to Saber, just it is what it is. One of those players you gotta, you gotta make a run for just to see what's happening. Um, and then another player, I guess just for context clues, had incredibly high MMR, but wasn't available for various reasons. And then um, I think we probably had one or two other conversations. I can't remember, honestly.
Okay.
I'm not, this isn't me trying to hide it. I mean, I pretty much revealed. You can be
I'm
smart and
only
guess, read
asking just
between the
because I know
lines.
people would want me to ask. So
Yeah, I think I
feel
made one
free
more
to
run
say
its
no.
eye, and he asked me for 50,000 a month or something, and I told him to go fuck himself.
Ooh, 50,000 a month. I'd be tempted. I'd be tempted, William.
I mean, I went to get drinks with him, and he kind of alluded to the fact that like maybe he'd play, and then I was hopeful, but he was just drunk, and he was like, "I don't really want to play." I was like, "Okay, all good." Um, so it was fine.
Got him.
But yeah, he fucking like really spammed me about it. What's his name?
And
Saber.
you
I mean,
guys had
he was
already
just
had
super eager.
you guys had already had him as a stand-in. I don't remember what
Yeah,
tournament
yeah.
that was, but it went
Oh,
very
we
well.
we did ask one more person. We did ask one more person. We asked Gunner.
Oh,
We
okay.
did ask Gunner as well.
Yeah,
I forgot about that. I would be remiss to not say Gunner.
sure.
We did have a serious conversation about Gunner.
Hmm. So, was ultimately you decided on Saberlight? Was that stand-in experience? I have to imagine that it was a pretty big factor, right?
Yeah, it was very positive. Our team really liked working with him. Boxy liked working with him. Felt like he was really moldable. That in conjunction with the fact that he wanted to join us so fucking bad. I didn't see it as desperate. I just saw it as a guy who was shooting his shot every fucking opportunity that he could, and he did it in a really helpful way that was respectful. So yeah, we kind of came to terms with him during TI. Like we knew probably by like Friday that he was ours, if that
Hmm.
makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was an interesting thing, like being in the middle of a contract negotiation slash like negotiating while drafting and working things out.
Yeah, I can't imagine that was helpful to your headspace while
Yeah, I didn't
doing
give a
this super
fuck.
stressful tournament. But
Yeah, I didn't give a fuck.
uh, All right, so now you've got a new player. So that you've already talked about the fact that 33 was a captain. For me, I was just like, when I heard 33 was going to be potentially leaving you guys, I was like, that is really hard to solve because you want an offlaner, and that is in high demand right now. And you need somebody to fill in that captain role. There are very few offlaners that can also captain, I think. But that's because you guys are going to be having Mick is going to be your captain now.
Yeah, I mean, he was my original choice. No offense to Netta, but just originally before Netta joined, Netta wasn't a drafter.
Yeah.
All three people that I've drafted with have never been drafters before. Let me just say.
Who
So when
are those three people?
Zai, Matu, Netta.
Okay, yeah.
So when people say that, like, you know, they're gonna lose a great captain and drafter, I'm like, that guy just learned it with us. Like, you don't think I can? This is the one time I'll kind of brag. I'm like okay at helping people learn how to draft. It's not a coincidence that people, I mean, they have experience in the scene, but like, Mickey also has experience in the scene. He just won TI. Like, he knows what I want in a vision. He was my original choice to draft with in the first place, which is why I forced him to do it in KL, which he did great at. And so
yes, I remember that.
I think it's gonna go well. I have a lot of faith. He's a genius.
Is there any potential problem with Matu and Zai? They were veteran players at that time. 33 also veteran, had won a TI. Like, he's coming into it with different ideas than you are. And while I imagine that is annoying to like mold somebody, isn't that still helpful to have somebody who is coming into it opposed to you, I guess, in some ways, drafting?
Wait, I have to pause real fast.
Okay.
Take me off camera really quick. I have to go get my food.
Okay.
I didn't know we'd be going this long. I'll be right back.
That's fine. Okay.
Oh my god, my food is so cold. L.
Oh yeah, opposing drafter. Like, you're going to be working with somebody who already knows basically what you want and how to draft.
Yeah.
Isn't that a problem?
What would be a problem about that?
I mean, like, you don't think it was helpful to have people with pre-existing ideas, like, opposing you and like pushing you in some way?
Oh, fuck Netta, dude. He was holding me back this entire time. I was the real genius of Team Liquid. Without him, I'm finally enabled. No. No, I'm sure there's a certain level of that, but I also think Mickey is really smart.
Yeah.
And I think Team Liquid is Team Liquid. Much like Gladiators is Gladiators. Like, we're gonna do our thing, and it's either good enough or it's fucking not. We're not gonna be like a very unique team. I'll tell you that one for free. So
yeah. The other thing, Saberlight is very different offlaner, I would say, to 33.
Mm-hmm.
He is not greedy. He is definitely more of an active player. I think Avery and I said he's more of a glue than he is, like a opposing force of some kind. He is somebody who tries to make things work. So, like, that's going to be a pretty big shift for Liquid as well, right?
I think our biggest adjustment that we'll make is we'll try and like play around Mickey a little bit more because like space will have opened up. But I don't know. Like, I think Netta was. I guess the reason why I took a second to like think about it is just because like I don't think Netta was that greedy at this TI.
Okay.
Like, he really fucking ran at people. He played Visit. He was running at people. He came mid. He like did the fighting thing. So I don't think it'll be as big of a difference in that regard. I think probably, Netta's only weakness, if he has one as a player, is he doesn't love playing blink stuns.
Sure.
Like, if it's a Mars patch.
I'm pretty sure that's Saber Chad's favorite thing to do in the world.
Yeah, so if it's like a Mars patch, I'm sure Netta can play. He's fucking genius. But it's, I don't think he'd get mad at me saying that it's not his preferred hero. Like, I don't think he's like, oh shit, Mars, love that. I'm just checking Team Liquid or Dota buff real fast to see when the last time this motherfucker played Mars was. Just out of curiosity, when the last time he played this hero. Okay, let's see. Netta as Mars, last played. Okay, I'm just gonna Control F this one. He last played Mars in 2021. So like.
Yeah. Okay. The final thing, I'll let you get your food. It's been a very wholesome, experience, wholesome episode, but you've been driven by spite for your competitive career for the last year or two.
Uh-huh.
Where's the shout outs? Or not the shout outs, the call outs. You did the shout outs. What about the call outs?
The problem is I didn't have I had my phone and I had some people's names. Um, Nisha Goat, Tusk Dota. You guys are fucking idiots. You guys are actually fucking morons. Keep telling me how to run my team. They message me so much, and they talk so much shit about all this jazz, but at the end of the day, you know, what can you do? I think now Tusk Dota's been kind of cool about
Uh-huh.
it, and he's kind of changed his mind. But I called him out once on like a tweet because he like, he was talking shit. So then I thought it'd be kind of fair that I talk shit back. It wasn't. He got really mad about it. But it's like, come on, dude, that's just our relationship. You should talk me, then we do well. I should talk you. It's like that's how it should go. You know what I'm saying? Like I
Yeah.
kind of hated that he got so mad about that. Like I don't. I think it's fun at this point. It's like you should talk me, I should talk you. You wait for my downfall, I wait for your
Mhm.
downfall. It's like it's just the give and the go. Don't take it that seriously. Because I know I complain about it a lot, but I don't care that much. Like it's just fun to have nemesis.
Yeah.
You know,
What
and
about
you're my nemesis. Like you should take that like seriously. That's good. It's the most fame you'll get
yeah,
from Dota.
be a dedicated hater.
No,
The
fucking lean into it.
what about within the scene?
Within the scene,
Mm.
do I have any haters? I'm sure that I have some. I
Uh,
could hazard a guess as to some teams that aren't the biggest fan of me, but I don't think there's anybody in particular that I want to particularly call out right now.
okay.
Um, I'm sure that some of my roster choices have not made some people happy, but it is what it is.
Yeah. All right.
Is there anybody in the scene that I should be flaming? I don't
No,
think so.
it just seemed like you said you were motivated by spite. And I know you've had some interactions with some people that have not been great over the years, so, you know.
I
You know,
mean,
people I know like the people coming up to you saying you boxy with shit and all that sort of thing, like I
it is what
remember
it
all those
is.
interactions.
It doesn't matter that much to me in my brain. Like, however
Yeah.
you feel about my team, you'll continue to feel about my team. We got lucky, all this jazz, but we fucking did it and you didn't, albozos. Um, so like continue to hate. It's all good. Like I'm at peace with everything. Uh, so yeah, like I guess if you ever, if you thought you were better than Mick as a carry, you're not. If you thought you were better as a 4 than Boxy, you're not. If you thought you're better than 5 at Aiden, you probably are. No, just kidding, you're not. And if you think you're better than Nisha or Netta, you're smoking crack.
Yeah.
All my players are goated at their positions, and they're the best people in the world. And so no matter what the patch is, they're just good guys. And I don't give a fuck what you think about my team.
All right. It's a good way to wrap it up. I'll let you get to your food, and I'll edit this podcast,
Cheers.
and we'll put it out on YouTube and podcast platforms. Thank you for
Yeah.
watching, everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed the live episode. And I guess we'll talk again, William, when you guys bomb out this season.
Can't wait for that shit. No pressure on Saber, guys. Support him. He's a
Yes.
king. He just needs a little bit of a guidance.
Yeah, I have to imagine jumping into a TI winning roster is not going to be the not going to be the most fun position to be in. But
Yeah. I actually had dinner with him last night, and I talked about that. I was
Yeah.
like, "You nervous at all?" We did like a player dinner, where I paid for his meal and liquid, all that
Mhm.
jazz. But I was kind of like, "You nervous?" And he's like, "No, because I know that you guys will be patient with me, and you're not gonna like read Reddit comments and kick me. If
That's
anything,
nice.
guys, when you flame Saber and you tell me to kick him, it'll power me more.
That's true. That's
Suck
true.
my nuts."
I mean, I've definitely seen that with Mickey, and look where you ended up. So
I will never kick anybody on my team. As long as they give me their best effort and they're decent people, which I know they are, I don't think I would ever kick anyone. And I would also rather just people have the dignity to like leave when they feel like leaving. Liquid will never be a place for players to just like have to be ruthless about things. If I have to GM in that way, then I've joined the wrong org, and I don't think I have. I think this org has always been about commitment and support. At least in the Dota sense, I've seen a billion people in CS. That's just a joke.
That
That's just a
revolving
joke.
door just keeps on.
That's
They're
just a
still
joke.
searching for that
I think I
Grand
think I
Slam
think
roster again.
yeah. I think that one's a bit obviously the scenes are different. I'm just messing around, but yeah. Like I want always people to kind of be able to do the things that they feel like in their way. So yeah, I guess just final message like we're coming for you, Neta. You'll regret ever leaving us.